Language learning seems pretty straightforward, right? But here's something wild. The way we learn basic words actually reveals deep cultural patterns that have existed for thousands of years.
Oh, wow. That's such an interesting perspective. And when you think about it, these fundamental building blocks really do unlock entire worldviews. Often,
You know what's fascinating about greetings specifically? In English, we have this whole system of time-based greetings, but studies show that about 40% of world languages don't make those distinctions at all.
hmm, that makes me think about how even the simple phrase, "How are you?" carries completely different cultural expectations depending on where you are.
Exactly right. Research shows that in American culture, this exchange takes an average of 3 seconds, while in Middle Eastern cultures, it can extend to several minutes and often requires updates about family members.
That reminds me of something I experienced in Japan. Even with just knowing basic greetings, the whole ritual was this intricate dance with specific timing and body language.
Speaking of cultural differences, let's look at numbers. Anthropological studies have found that different cultures start counting on different fingers. 40% begin with the thumb, while 45% start with the index finger.
Well, that's fascinating. And there's research showing that some Asian number systems are actually more mathematically intuitive, leading to better early math performance in children.
You know what's really mind-blowing? The 7-day week. It's based on ancient Babylonian astronomy from around 600 BCE. They observed 7 celestial bodies, which then shaped how virtually every culture on Earth measures time.
So if we had discovered more planets earlier in history, we might have had a different number of days in our week.
Exactly. And here's something even more interesting. Studies show that about 78% of the world's languages name their days based on either numbers or celestial bodies, while only about 15% use deity names like we do in English.
That makes me think about how we teach these basics to language learners. There's almost this universal sequence that's been refined over centuries.
Right? And neuroscience research shows this sequence isn't arbitrary. The brain actually processes concrete nouns, like food words, more easily than abstract concepts, which is why they're taught early.
Oh, that's fascinating. And I've read that food vocabulary often has the highest retention rate among language learners, something like 92% recall after 6 months.
Let me share something interesting about daily routines across cultures. While we all follow similar patterns, studies show that dinner time can vary by up to 6 hours depending on location, from 5 p.m. in parts of the US to 11 p.m. in Spain.
Well, that certainly explains why my Spanish friends thought I was crazy for wanting dinner at 6:30.
And get this, research shows that these basic words often have the most dialectical variations. In Mandarin Chinese alone, there are over 20 different ways to say hello, depending on the region and context.
That's incredible. It really shows how these simple words carry so much cultural information.
Speaking of cultural information, studies indicate that about 65% of communication is nonverbal. Even these basic phrases come with specific gestures that vary dramatically by culture.
That reminds me of how in some cultures, making eye contact during a greeting is respectful, while in others it's considered challenging.
Exactly. And neuroscience research has shown that these basic language elements are stored in a different part of the brain than complex language, which is why people with certain types of aphasia can still remember greetings and numbers.
Well, that explains why these basics stick with us even when we forget most of a language we've learned.
And here's something really interesting about technology's impact. While language learning apps have increased basic vocabulary acquisition by about 40%, studies show they might be standardizing pronunciation in ways that erase regional variations.
That's such an important observation about the trade-off between accessibility and preservation of linguistic diversity.
You know what's fascinating? Research shows that even these basic words can carry up to 7 different meanings just through changes in intonation. It's like a hidden layer of communication that most language learners never master.
That makes me think about how complex even simple communication really is.
And here's the kicker. Studies show that mastering these basics in a new language actually changes brain structure, creating new neural pathways that affect how we perceive time, space, and social relationships.
Well, speaking of time, should we wrap this up with some final thoughts?
Let's do that. But first, consider this. Research shows that learning just 100 basic words in a new language can help you understand about 50% of everyday conversations. It's not just about vocabulary, it's about opening doors to new ways of seeing the world.
That's such a perfect note to end on. These aren't just words. They're keys to understanding human experience.
And remember, these fundamental building blocks of language aren't just about communication. They're about connecting with the 7.8 billion different ways humans make sense of their world.